Good morning, I'm Steve and welcome to Green Side Up. I've been planting up my winter brassicas. I've got some cauliflower, red cabbage, kale, red Russian and cavalliero, and here I've got some broccoli. There's a space there for the Romanesque cauliflowers. They're a little small yet, they're in the tunnel. We're going to have a look at all those brassicas in there now. Okay, back in the big tunnel now, and this is the bed that's had brassicas growing in it all the way from February. The first thing I sowed was radish in there, but since then it's been bringing young brassica plants on all season, so it's worked hard this year. And I finally emptied it all out and put plants outside and potted some on, which will later maybe in next month will be planted out in this tunnel or in the other tunnel or outside, wherever I can find space for them. Basically I'll try and grow as many of them as possible, and if I can't grow them I'll pass them on to someone who can. So here's a shot of all the potted up brassicas in the little in the little blue mushroom tray there to the left. That's all my Romanesque cauliflowers. Some of them will be going outside shortly, just like them to be a bit bigger yet, and the roots coming out the bottom of the pot before I plant them out. And the rest of the brassicas here, I've got kale, cavalliero, cauliflowers, a red drumhead cabbage, a Savoy cabbage and purple sprouting broccoli. So this is all my sort of winter stock, the first part anyway. Most of the brassicas. Some of these will get planted in this tunnel, some of them will be in the next tunnel, and some of them will be in a bed outside. I've already planted some in the no dig, but I'll plant some of these in just in soil. Like for instance, the cabbages will be planted very, very tight to each other, and I'll be going for small heads rather than full mature big cabbages. So that's the plan with that. So there's plenty there, so that should see us right. Right, so my last video was the first question time, and I was sent the question by a writer who asked, in July, is it too late to sow parsnip seeds to get a crop for Christmas? Or if not, would they still crop after Christmas? I replied on the last video saying yes, it's pretty much too late, because many people sow their parsnip seeds in February, March, maybe going into April at a stretch, and it's a long season crop, and you know, you're not really going to get anything for Christmas. But then I thought to myself, and I did mention on the video, that I know that no dig speeds growth along quite considerably, and the same thing within a polytunnel. So what I've decided to do is build a tiny little no dig bed here, which is what I've got inside the polytunnel, and I'm going to sow some parsnip seeds in here in mid-July and see what we get by Christmas, and if it improves into the new year. So I'm going to sow some in here and then some in the no dig bed, one of the no dig beds outside. And the variety I've got for this, I could be wrong, but I think it's an early harvest variety. It's called Palace F1. So I'm going to do a couple of rows. I'm not going to pre-chip them or soak them or anything, straight out of the packet, straight into the soil on both occasions. I'm not going to do anything fancy with them, apart from what I've already done. So 2 or 3 rows in here, fairly heavily, so we can at least get germination and see some plants growing. So I don't hold that much hope, but you know, you never know, and this is why you do these tests. You know, you do these tests to improve your understanding of how and when things grow, expand your knowledge for the betterment of your gardening experience. I do stupid tests like this all the blooming time. Somebody says you can't do it, I think, well, why not? Then I go and have a go. So all I've done with this ground is you'll see it from the still photographs, is I've just dug a couple of spades of soil out to give some depth, and then filled it with compost. Put a bricks around on it to give it a bit of height, and it's probably 4 inches, maybe 5 inches deep in compost. and the compost was used this year in a pot outside for growing potatoes in, so in that respect it's perfect for a root crop because the main nutrition has already gone out of it, and you don't want too rich a soil for root crops. So I'll go and get some planted outside in the no dig area, water both of them, and then we'll see what happens. So we're now out here on the no dig beds, and I've got some Italian giant parsley here and some lettuce, and I'm going to sow a couple of rows of these parsnips in between them. Trusty dibber. And then we'll just come back. I mean, I might point them out if they start growing, or when they start growing, be confident. But I shall pull the first ones if there's anything there to pull on Christmas Eve. So that is 5 months from now. I shall pull some from here and from in the tunnel, and we'll see. The whole thing, that's £1 for them seeds, so it's worth it for a test just to find out. While I'm here in this bed, I'm going to sow another row of radish seed. Easiest thing you can grow. Just got to show them to soil and they grow. So I just chuck them in, cover and water them, and we get more of a succession. I'll sow some more next to this in a week, 10 days, something like that. There we go. I think also I'm going to plant those spring onions. You can't see this, but there's a tray of them down there. I'll get them planted now as well. So I'm just going to basically chuck these spring onions in these. I've dibbed some holes in here. It's just a case of filling them now with these module grown spring onions. I love things like this because, I mean, this is gardening at its easiest. You're in the way, pal. So these will just need watering in. Incidentally, over the years I've tried numerous varieties of spring onions. And to be honest with you, the favourite and allegedly the easiest one to grow is the, I forget the name of it now, White Lisbon variety, and I've tried that, growing that so many ways, and it's just always been poor for me. So I switched a few years ago to this type. It's called Ishikura. It's a Japanese bunching onion, and they are fantastic. Reliable, never let me down, and that's really all you want, something that works. But maybe now I'm trying no dig, maybe I ought to try the White Lisbon again, see how I get on with it this time. I don't like failing with things. Oh, there's that little area full. Still got a few left. Does anyone want these? You can come round and pick them up and you can have them. There we go, they just need watering now. And here next to the Cavallonero in another bed is some Ishikura onions. These are nearly ready for harvest. I could be eating these now. So the ones I've just planted are a continuation, and I think they're either my third or fourth planting of them. I'm going to sow some more as well. Right, and here we are for another question time. This is the second one, and I've got a couple of questions to answer today. The first one has come from America, Pennsylvania in fact, and the writer tells me that they have been using raised veg beds for 5 years, but they can't seem to get root veg to bulb up or fill out. And she's kind of envious of the British gardener because we apparently have very green thumbs. We just throw a bit of bloodfish and bone down and we seem to grow great crops. It's not really the case, but because I've had plenty of failures this year already and there's more to come. And that's the way of it. But anyway, I thought I would take a minute to explain about root veg. Now, normally or traditionally, you have a crop rotation, generally over a 4-bed area, and it goes potatoes, and then the next year you grow in that bed, you add a bit more manure and you grow peas and beans, and then after that year you cut the foliage down and leave the roots in the ground or dig them in, and the following year you grow brassicas, and then on the 4th year you grow onions and roots. Now by the time you're growing onions and roots, you're putting down a proprietary fertiliser such as bloodfish and bone or grow more, because most of the goodness from the manure from when year 1 came around, when you were planting your potatoes, most of that goodness has gone. And that's what root veg prefer. They don't like too rich a soil, and they will grow better for that. And my belief is because, especially for things like parsnips and carrots, the roots will spread down, they're looking for goodness, and if it's not in that top layer of soil, they'll go searching for it and they'll go down, and the roots will get longer and you get the bigger filled out roots, so to speak. You also need to keep on top of your watering, and you also need a good sunny location. Now what can happen if you feed your bed too much, for instance with bloodfish and bone or with manure, the nitrogen levels can be too high and you get a situation that I've heard spoken about, which is all top and no bottom. So you get plenty of green growth on the top from the nitrogen, but you don't get anything as your roots underneath. Now the constituents of bloodfish and bone, the element in there that's good for root growth is phosphorus, and that is the bone element of fish blood and bone. So as a temporary fix, you can use bone meal in your soil when you're planting your root crops, you know, your radishes, your turnips, your rutabaga, or as we call them, Swedes, carrots, parsnips. You can use bone meal as a short-term thing, but long-term you ought to be thinking about digging your ground out nice and deep. Even though you're in raised beds, you want the ground underneath dug out and loose so the roots can get down, and a good mix of components in there. And then if you've put fresh manure, especially poultry manure, if you put fresh manure in there, consider growing something else that year. Take some of the nutrients out, and then the 2nd, 3rd or 4th year grow your roots, and you'll get a better crop, and you will get it. So that's my answer to that. Bone meal as a short-term solution, or as part of a rotation, grow them on the 4th year after manuring a bed. So I hope that helps. The next question I had was a writer in this country has a greenhouse at home and on their allotments, and they're growing cucumbers, and the cucumbers, I think it's the cucumbers that are going yellow, or it could be the plants, but either way it's the same cause and the same fix really. If you overwater cucumbers, then they very quickly ripen and swell, and very quickly go past the nice ripe green stage, so where your cucumbers are they've grown up to a decent size and nice and green. Once they start to turn yellow, it's because they've had too much water, they've been watered too much, or the rain has got in and put too much water down, and they've swelled, ripened, and they've gone over. And once they're yellow or orangey yellow, they're bitter and they're useless. You could use them for pickling, I suppose, but I generally just put them on the compost heap if that happens. So that's it, is the solution with that, is make sure when you plant the plants they're slightly raised from the soil level, and that stops the stem rotting from the watering. Water directly at the base of the plants, and water sparingly, keep it moist, but don't drown it, and that should solve your yellowing cucumbers. So I hope those little things help, and I'll see you on the next one. So if you're new here to Green Side Up, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell and select all. Then the next time I produce a video and upload it, you won't miss it, you'll get a notification, and my videos will show up in your normal YouTube video feed. So that's it for today. We'll be back in a couple of days, probably with some more questions and a lot more gardening, because there's a lot of seeds I need to get sown ready for the over the winter phase. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Gosh, that sun's gorgeous, so I thought I'd just take a second to enjoy that. Yeah, look after yourselves everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Ta-ra.